What's up, guys? It's Oblivious Gamer here, and well, today we're going to be talking about Bleach Rebirth of Souls, as we finally got a gameplay trailer by being called the gameplay overview trailer, and I was a bit surprised, and originally my impressions was very mixed, as not a big fan of arena fighters. I have my own problems, and I'm a huge Bleach fan. So again, just prefacing that, I love Bleach. So even with this being a Bleach game, I was still like concerned with what the game could be, though, always trying to remain a bit optimistic. But my point was like, I'll wait and see. Well, now we have a gameplay trailer, and well, my opinion has become a bit more positive, though I still have a bit of, I'm still cautious about the game, but I'm definitely more on the side of like, oh, this is building up to be quite nice and could be something fun. Bleach Rebirth of Souls is the new Bleach game. It's been years since we've had a Bleach game that's going to come out to consoles and PC. This game is being published by Bandai Namco, and the developers are Tamsoft, which in my previous video spoke about how, they're bringing Tamsoft to do their arena quote-unquote fighters, which not that usual for them to bring Tamsoft. Tamsoft has done other games, you know them for doing Senran Kagura, doing the Onechambara series. I think they worked on Uta Wararumono-san. So not that, doing arena fighters is their thing. They helped a bit with multi-blood type Lumina, but again, it's not that they were the main developers, so there was a whole nother thing where people being like, oh, they developed multi-blood type Lumina, which that wasn't true at all. When I saw Tamsoft as a developer, I was like, okay, there's a chance, I'm gonna give them a shot. So the trailer is here, and the first thing that I want to talk about is their amount of gauges. It's appreciated that they release a trailer like this where they first show us and go over some of the stuff. Because if you look at the gameplay, you're like seeing, you have like a health bar, you have like another bar above with a number, half below 2 bars, and then you have reverse, and then there's also kind of like another bar below your health bar that kind of like changes, and sometimes it shows up and sometimes it disappears. So a lot of stuff here. The way that it's being explained is going to be your typical arena fighter where there's rounds, so there's not going to be rounds. Instead, the way the game is going to work is both characters will start with 9, you could say, health bars, or kompaku, as what's being referred here. They're called kompaku. So all characters are going to, what's assumed is every character is going to start with 9. And then you have your Reishi gauge, which is your health bar, where your goal is to try to reduce the kompaku of your opponent to 0 and win the match. Now, there are multiple ways for you to be able to do that, which is what the game goes over. Of course, you can do the traditional, just try to diminish their reishi or health gauge to 0, and then when their health is reduced to 0, of course, they're gonna lose a kompaku. So their number is gonna be decreased. There's other ways for you, which is, for example, doing a super when hit seems to be able to take like 3 to 4. Like, I think it would depend on the type of super and how much meter is used. Because, for example, when we see Ichigo, he manages to reduce Byakuya's kompaku by 3, leaving him with 6. Eventually, of course, Byakuya is able to use his own special, which reduces 3. So they're both tied with 6. And then it seems eventually Byakuya uses, I don't know what type of, again, super, because it seems like it's going to really depend how much kompaku it takes, but, it takes 4. So Ichigo is left with 2. However, Ichigo awakens his Bankai, and then he does like the super or ultimate move with his Bankai, and that reduces 4 kompaku, leaving them tied with 2 and 2. So both in their bankais and they use their own supers. To be honest, it's not that complicated. It's just being a bit more. I feel like this is a type of thing where, like, one, you have to see it and get to have a better foundation of how the whole system is going to work. but it's not hard to follow. I just wish they were a little bit more specific, because some people have some confusion. Like, oh, what happens if I just don't use any super and just reduce the rage gauge to 0? How much Konpaku is he gonna lose? But yeah, everything seems to be like understandable as long as you watch the trailer. It's not too very complicated. But like I said, one of the biggest things is there's just you're overloaded with gauges. You have like I said, like you have a lot here, and stuff just keeps popping up. So I think it's just gonna be a matter of like understanding and just playing the game mostly for a lot of people to have a better grasp of how it works. In terms of fluidity, I think the combat looks pretty well. Like, I was very surprised with how well and fluid it looked, though a bit of a complaint, it's mostly with the trailer. I would have wished give us a bit more. There's just too many cuts, obviously, because they're trying to explain all of the systems, but I feel like the cuts kind of like didn't help with the flow. So I personally like it. Look at it's like, do we have a good idea of like how the game will flow? Because with all the cuts, obviously that alters the flow. So now I'm just curious how like a match is gonna work. How is it gonna flow once everything is put together and everything is not like you're not having like all these cuts happening and explaining. At the bottom we have the EX bar, which as we can see in a lot of situations it reaches 250 and it's split in 3. Some specials I saw uses 50. Of course, the way to recover your EX gauge is by combat. I don't know if it's a bar that's gonna like slowly fill up just by moving. Some fighting games do that where, depending on, like, for example, Guilty Gear Strive, your meter is able to just recharge just by moving forward. So I don't think this game has that. I can see like if it's passively gonna affect. Well, the EX or the spiritual power gauge. There's also the reverse gauge, which it seems to be split in 2 from what I can see here. And you will have like moves that will consume the reverse gauge, or maybe a mode, because the thing that I noticed is when you activate, you shine. So we see Byakuya shining when he has both reverse meters, both bars filled, he turns red. Bar for the reverse gauge, he turns yellow. Period gauge, I think that has like obviously involvement with your Bankai. Because the moment it was filled, you see evolution. Eventually there's a cutscene where it shows each going into Bankai and that bar is back to 0. And kind of like the same with Byakuya, when he uses like Zenbon Zagora, the bar goes back to 0. I think it was just a cut and we didn't see his bar. But yeah, I mean, it's just some brief stuff. Looking when I'm able to see fear. Overall, like I said, I'm more positive about the game, though I'm still gonna have my concerns and being like, like approaching it cautiously, because 1, an arena fighter, not a fan of the genre. 2, my biggest concern is they're doing something interesting. So they're adding their own twist with the Konpaku, with the Reishi gauges, with reversals, with spirit. Like they're adding like their own twist. So a lot of the mechanics are not as we usually expect with a arena fighter, which is just diminish the health of the opponent, win the round, and maybe have like a mechanic here and there to make it unique. Here it seems they're intertwining like mechanics with the world of Bleach to like make it a bit different. And when you look at stuff, it's like, oh wow, this looks interesting, this looks great. But the biggest issue is, okay, on the trailer it looks amazing. How does it feel to play? Is it fun? Is it going to be something that like we're all going to be constantly excited? Is this something that is going to be tedious? Are we just going to be like, holy shit, this is just so fucking annoying? Are we going to be bored? Could matches just be too long because of how matches be too short? There's a lot of stuff that goes through my head. I'm just like, okay. For me, it's like, that's why like I would love to see a whole like just match without interruptions, see the flow. Maybe in the future get a demo to test things out so I can have a better like grasp. But yeah, I mean, overall I do think the game is on the right track. It looks interesting. I think graphically it looks fantastic. Obviously some polish here and there. We don't have a release date for the game, so they do have the time to polish it and make it better and make it more fluid. So I don't have a concern there. I do want to highlight an interesting thing is they also had a interview with the Bleach Rebirth of Souls producer, and he goes that this is gonna be more than another run-of-the-mill arena fighter. So the producer, Katsuaki Suzuki, he says that like he understands that there tends to be a lack of depth beyond the bread and butter strategies. However, he says that like they're really taking inspiration from other games. So he describes like in action game layman terms, Rebirth of Souls combat is like of Sekiro's stagger swordplay, Tekken 7 reversal, and Smash Bros. Ultimate stock health bar system. Which, hey, those three are all fantastic games in their own way. They are saying, okay, we're trying something unique, and we're being inspired by these games. And he also references like how the Ultimate Ninja Storm games, JoJo Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R, Tekken 7, and Dragon Ball FighterZ, like, were stuff that they were inspired and thinking of when making Rebirth of Souls. So yeah, that's like another point to add that like, hey, the team is aware of like the usual view of arena fighters, and they're trying to make something unique and interesting. But yeah, guys, I mean, quite the long video. Like I said, I'm a massive Bleach fan. I love Bleach, so of course I want to be like super hyped and super excited for the game, which I'm interested for this being an arena fighter, but again, just cautious with how the genre is, and like we tend to have more bad games than good games. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how things go. Give me just a gameplay match to see the flow, like no interruptions. But you guys, as always though, what are your thoughts? Are you looking forward to Bleach Rebirth? Feel free to leave your thoughts down below. This has been Oblivious Gamer, and I hope you'll have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are.